Greetings, everybody. This session, we're going to talk about using statuses of estimates in orders to manage the workflow through the system. Statuses are very, very important. I'm going to change my screen here just a second so that you can see control. Statuses reflect the significant life cycle milestones in the life of an estimate and an order. Estimates and orders have their own unique set of these statuses. Now, stations reflect the life cycle changes within a given estimate or order status. So each status has their own unique set of stations. Now, estimate stations, statuses and stations, as I said, are different between estimates and orders. So what we're going to do is walk through the process on estimates first, and then we'll come back and do that through for the same thing for orders. So we're looking at viewing estimate statuses. Now, I don't really need to put anything in here on the search criteria. That's not the objective of this particular topic. But down at the bottom, notice in the filters, this is where you see the uniqueness of statuses, because that's what these are for estimates. So an estimate is going to begin its life, and it's with a status that's called pending. And then hopefully the next status that you would see would be when it was converted from an estimate to an order. So that would be the second step, or the ultimate end step status for an estimate. Now, in between, there may be occasions where you need to mark an estimate as lost, or you want to mark an estimate as voided. So I am going to choose just the pending for right now. And I'm going to look at the entire history. So this represents all of the estimates that I have in my database that are in a pending status. Now notice the third column. This is where the station comes in. So within the pending status, I can have no station set, or I can have one of these others set, okay? So if I want to change the station, I can do so from within the Explorer window here by doing a right mouse click. And then I can come down to change the station. And I can change the station and choose either none, or I can choose one of these stations within the pending estimate status. So if it's just generic, if that's all you want, that's fine. Just choose pending. If you think the probability of this estimate being converted to an order is not so good, you might use the pending cold. And that's just going to be a hint to you that this may not work out, and so on. Waiting on artwork. It might be a pretty good estimate that that they're going to go forward with it, but there has to be some artwork generated, or the artwork has to be they have to wait approval, maybe of a landlord, or get a permit of some kind, and that you estimate that it might close next week, or you might estimate that it's going to close sometime this week. Okay, so it's just a second visual piece of information within the pending status of what you think the likelihood is of this thing moving forward. Now, if a customer, if you've done an estimate for somebody and they call you back in a week or 2 weeks and say, hey, we're not going to proceed with this estimate, then you might want to mark it as lost. Okay, so if I choose the lost, Are you sure that that's what you want to do? I would say yes. And now I'm going to ignore this. Now, think of these as a reason why this estimate is being marked as lost. They might tell you that the price was too high. You lost it to you lost the opportunity to a competitor. They didn't proceed with the project, or there was just absolutely no response from the customer. So I'm just going to say that the project was canceled. I'm going to say okay, and now that status changed to lost, and it shows the reason. So in the case of estimates for lost and voided, the station reflects a reason for the lost status or a reason for the voided status. Okay, and in the case of pending, once that estimate gets complete or gets converted, then the station will remain unchanged when it becomes a converted estimate. So the process would be identical to do this, to mark one as voided, which I don't think I'll do. So that pretty well covers the use of voided or lost, and voided is the same way. So we would come up here to estimates, and this time let's say that we only want to look at pending again, and not those. So now that one that I had previously lost was there. So let's go down to this bottom one and say that I'm going to change the status to voided. I like to differentiate lost and versus voided. Lost is a choice if the customer created the initiative to not move forward, and voided is your decision to stop pursuing this simply because maybe the customer has never responded to your request for follow-up. The reasons might be the same. So you might choose that you just haven't gotten any kind of response, any kind of response to them. So now if we come back and look at the lost and the pending or the voided, now we're going to see the lost, we're going to see the voided, and then the rest of these in between are pending. Now I'm going to switch now and do the same kind of discussion for orders, and it's very similar. In the case of orders, the statuses is what drives the statuses are the key, and within each status, WIP and built and sale and closed and voided, each of those have their own unique set of statuses or stations. I'm sorry. Now think in the terms of the status of an order. It's going to begin its life as work in process. So during that period of time, you're going to be working on artwork, gathering materials, doing the production process. And then when you're done and it's ready to be delivered or ready to be picked up or ready to be installed, then you would change the status to built. That means that the work is completed. It's simply waiting on the customer taking possession of the finished goods. So that's the second step, so to speak, in the life cycle of an order. The third cycle is when that customer actually takes possession of the finished goods. That could be because you installed it, it could be because you delivered it, it could be because they picked it up. And once that status gets changed to a sale, then from a financial perspective, the ball game changes quite a bit. During the WIP and the built part, the value of the sale, the value of the order is not reflected as income, as sales income. However, if they paid a deposit for that order, either part of the deposit or the whole thing, then that becomes a financial liability to you because you took their money and put it in the bank. But you have a liability for the value of that payment that's going to remain on the balance sheet as a deposit liability. Then, when the order is finished and delivered or installed, then it becomes a sale. So any liability for a deposit gets reversed. All of the income gets reflected in the on the revenue side, and any sales taxes gets generated and is reflected as a sales tax liability. So the transition from WIP and built to sale has fairly significant ramifications from a financial standpoint. So let's look at WIP. Just take the rest of these off so we don't see a bunch of stuff. So now we're looking at just stuff that's in work in process. And these are the stations. I'm going to grab this one and move it over. So we can see them side by side. So within WIP, if we want to change the station to reflect a little bit more about what is going on with this particular order, I would do a right mouse click and I would say, I want to change the station. And these are some of the predefined stations. It's in the design stage, it's in the printing stage, it's in your vinyl department, it's being fabricated, it's in finishing, it's in QA. And from a service perspective, it might be the services in process, or it's in queue to be worked on from a service standpoint. So if this one is in design, that represents the first stage, so to speak, within WIP of where this order might progress. And then a day or two later, or later that day, I might change the station yet again. And this time I might say that it's actually in the printing process. So it simply shows the transition of the life within a given status of where that order is as it works its way through the production process. Now, if this finally goes to built and it's done and ready to be picked up, I would use a right mouse click. I would say I want to change the status. I don't want to change the status to either leave it alone. And now here you're choosing a station that's going to reflect the ultimate where this thing is going to go. It's either going to be shipped, it's going to be picked up, it's going to be installed, it's going to be delivered, or from a service perspective, the service is now completed. So if it says that it's going to be shipped, now later that day, the shipment, let's say that the shipment takes place. So either the same day or the next day, you would do a right mouse click and say, I'm going to change the station to that it was delivered. Okay. So again, within built, you have a set of stations that take it more incrementally through that process of being ready and actually delivered. Now, if this thing finally gets delivered, I would need to change the status yet again. And this time I'm going to change it from built to sale. Okay. I could leave the station exactly as it was. I could remove it altogether, and I could say that it was shipped. And now it's going to say sale, and it's shipped. Notice the color coding, the light green. That means that they owe you money. Okay, there's a balance remaining on it. And furthermore, it's not past due. Okay, so the stations for sale really are just you're choosing the appropriate one. It's either shipped, it's either delivered, it's picked up, or the work is completed, the service has been completed. So it's not probably going to work incrementally through like the WIP and the built did, but rather it's going to say what the ultimate dissemination or distribution of this item was. Now, occasionally a job is going to go south, okay? And you're going to have some reason to just back it out and say this isn't going to happen. So let's say that for whatever reason, this order here isn't going to go through the complete process where the customer is going to get possession of it. So in that case, I would do a right mouse click. My touchpad is awkward. So I'm going to change the status. Oops, I did it wrong. Sorry. I'm going to open that order. I picked one that was kind of small, so let's pick this one right here. So now that it's open, I want to mark it as voided, okay? So I'm going to open it. There we go. I can void it from here, or I could have come up to, I'm going to go back and close this. I have it highlighted. I could go up to action. I was thinking that maybe I could, no, I'm sorry, I can't. I thought I could mark it voided as part of the action, but you actually have to open the order and come over here to void. You're going to give a reason. It was a bad day, maybe, and close it and say okay. And these are not likely to occur. Now notice that the status changes to voided. Okay, so that would represent the last of the options of an order. Let's go back one more time, and I want to look and see change status. Now that represents the end. Some of the older systems had a means of putting a hold, say that this is being delayed, but that's I don't see that as an option any longer. Hope this has been helpful, and we'll see you maybe on another video soon. Take care and thank you.